Starliner has spent more than 50 days in space, far surpassing the underlying arrangement of pretty much 8 days. That is more than multiple times the normal time frame, and this brings up loads of issues about the eventual fate of the shuttle. Boeing and NASA are possible confronting critical difficulties in keeping up with the Starliner project. With expanding troubles, is Boeing taking into account abandoning this task also? How has NASA responded to the current circumstance? We should figure out more in the present episode of Alpha Tech. After numerous long stretches of 228 Starliner update by NASA investigating and test to mimic the issues happening with Boeing Starliner shuttle. The most recent question and answer session on 25th uncovered that the outcomes from NASA and Boeing are unaltered. Starliner is as yet not prepared to set a bring date back for the two space travelers on its most memorable manned dry run. We don't have a significant declaration today comparative with to a return date, said NASA Business Group Program Director Steve Fasson's Starliner's get back to over and again Earth has been deferred since its underlying arrangement re-emergence about 7 days after send-off. It was then pushed no sooner than June 18, then June 22, then June 25, now late July. Presently, Starliner and its group aren't expected back until August at the earliest. This is a result that frustrates nearly everybody, except it's clear we guessed this. The issues with Starliner are not unimportant. They have become, or maybe were from the starting, more serious than any other time in recent memory. Truly, I would rather not hold this view, be that as it may. Checking out at the question and answer session about Bo's most memorable flight, it appears apparent that NASA and Boeing never referenced the central concerns similar to. They're attempting to conceal further issues. Maybe authorities dread that straightforwardly conceding the ongoing excursion is excessively dangerous or would prod more thrilling as news, or perhaps NASA's chiefs just need to safeguard Boeing. After all, they do plan to send up additional teams on Starliner. Furthermore, any indication of dissatisfaction from the Space Office could disintegrate public trust in their all-around grieved worker for hire. NASA would improve in the event that they embrace the vulnerability rather than keeping away from it. To get a mantra from the organization itself, the principal man-trip of Starliner is a test mission, strange occasions unsurprising, and NASA accepts that they are exceptional to deal with them. However, regardless of what, just time's going to discern whether NASA and Boeing can't step it up. They must turn to elective means to securely bring the space travelers back home, and nobody can do this. However, SpaceX, in the event that this occurs, Starliner will formally confront a grievous disappointment in its whole improvement program, and its future will be obviously there will be no future. Starliner is still excessively imperfect to go on with manned missions to the ISS anyway, regardless of whether Starliner prevails in 505. Why Boeing deserted Starliner? The return, its future improvement is fraught with hardships. It actually has the possibility to get dropped. For what reason is that? Well, we can see that there are not numerous Boeing authorities talking up to safeguard their boat. Space is only a section of Boeing's Guard Space and Security Specialty Unit, and in Boeing's income by area in 2023, BDS just produced 32% of the organization's income at almost $25 billion. It's actually significant that $25 billion are likewise comprised of non-space exercises like agreements for the military helicopters, Warrior jets and weapons. In the meantime, the organization's monetary strength lies in its business, airplane business, which acquired almost $33 billion or 44% of 2023's income when Boeing's business planes experienced a progression of difficulties, costing the organization something like $32 billion starting around 2019 and no real endgame. It was a significant catastrophe for the over 100-year-old firm financially. Boeing Starliner shows no benefit with delayed weighty misfortunes, and the organization needs to bear the expense themselves as the public authority can no longer asset them. This isn't to specify different issues like specialized issues with the rocket, which are very challenging for Boeing to address even down the street and contest in the send-off market with predominant adversaries like SpaceX's Winged Serpent. These focuses raise questions about the fate of Boeing Starliner shuttle fabricating specialty in general. I survey that Starliner program doesn't have a drawn-out way. Regardless of whether Boeing has to forsake Starliner, it won't be altogether influenced monetarily. The fact that the organization makes this given satisfies the 6 missions appointed under The business group contract that was granted by NASA. Then again, NASA necessities to perceive Boeing no more believes Street should contend and ought to thusly center around collabing with SpaceX to further foster the mythical beast shuttle. Boeing's likewise shown an absence of concentration in their space area as confirmed by their consent to sell ULA, a joint endeavor rocket assembling and send-off organization is an initial step. The Starliner program will be the following stage. So what do you consider this hypothesis? If it's not too much trouble, leave your contemplations in the remarks down beneath, and keeping in mind that you're busy, ensure you like and buy into our channel. Alright, notwithstanding the declaration that there's no return date for the two Space Explorers, the question and answer session 25th from NASA and Boeing's initiative moreover offered us a few potential responses about the reasons for Starliner's issues in the first leg of this excursion, including helium brakes and engines out of nowhere dropping en route to the ISS. These disclosures came subsequent to Boeing and NASA gone through the most recent couple of weeks researching the main problems and anticipating extra test which will act as a feature to all the more likely comprehend the issue, said Imprint Nappy, Boeing's business group program chief, at a 6:56 some odd on Starliner site in New Mexico. Designers terminated test motors in excess of multiple times, duplicating how the engines on the spacebound Starliner would have touched off. They then, at that point, terminated the engine to test multiple ways the motors could fire on the manner in which home from space. As per Boeing, the objective of this testing was to acquire a superior comprehension of why the rocket's engines startlingly shut down and imagine a scenario where any perils are related with turning those engines back on. Authorities said that they were ready to reproduce how the engines in space weakened during trip with the ground tests. The testing might have helped give specialists a superior comprehension of the issues underlying driver heat developing inside the engines might be causing Teflon seals to swell, confining the progression of fuel. The testing has given us extra certainty to undock and bring Nappy back, said the discoveries additionally incited Boeing. What's more, NASA to leave intends to permit Space Explorers to fly the Starliner physically, shuttle returning as they did brief momentarily on the way up to the ISS. Portion of the manual moving put some additional weight on the engine's join, said. Still, authorities didn't absolutely say Thursday that Starliner space apparatus conveyed veteran NASA space travelers Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams to the space station, and if it be the very vehicle that brought him back home, there's a great deal of valid justifications to finish this mission and bring Butch. What's more, Suni home on Starliner, said later, noticing that NASA has possibility choices in the event that Starliner doesn't get the endorsement to bring the space travelers back. We need to get past the interaction, he added. We have another basic Starliner mission supervisory crew to audit all the engine information we just discussed. Obviously, I'm extremely certain we have a great vehicle to bring the group back with Nappy, said Williams and Wilmore shown up at the Global Space Station June 6 for what was generally anticipated to be a generally drawn-out mission. As of Thursday, the space travelers have been in space for around 50 days. NASA has demonstrated that Starlander can remain in space for a limit of 90 days independently. Designers have gained ground. That's what, in understanding helium releases, hampered the primary leg of Starliner venture. However, Boeing and NASA will take a close glance at the issue again during extra testing of the vehicle in space. However, it will proceed with this end of the week. Fasten said the testing will incorporate the terminating of 27 Starliner engines while the vehicle remains docked at the ISS. Investigation of parts on the ground, explicitly a rendition of the Starliner administration module that has been sitting in White Sands, New Mexico for 3 years, has showed that the helium spills might be a consequence of seals that have gotten corrupted. In light of openness to fuel fume, as per Nappy, the normal fix is to simply change that seal out to a material that is not really defenseless to being worn out by openness by the propellant, Nappy said, alluding to potential changes that Boeing can make for future Starliner missions. Still ahead anyway is work to decide if the holes on board the Starliner that is now in space have deteriorated as the vehicles remain docked at the ISS, in light of the fact that the help module, that is the piece of the rocket tormented by the helium spills on the ground, was presented to push it for such a long time. Nappy said it could offer a most pessimistic scenario comprehension of how severely the seals can be debased. The continuous work to comprehend the helium spill is among the central justifications for why NASA and Boeing still can't give us a return date for Williams and Wilmore or a conclusive response on whether Starliner is prepared to fly him back home. The key traits of the flight reasoning Trulier that we figure out the helium spills, we comprehend the security of the brakes and how we can deal with those ought to. They get greater line expressed alluding to the likelihood that the holes of influencing the Starliner administration module may worsen. NASA and Boeing plan to convey out a survey to anticipate Starliner's undocking, which could come as late next week. As per Join, we unquestionably trust that works out, and that is supportive of the present episode. Gratitude for watching and see you sometime later.